Welcome to the Call Like I See It podcast. I'm James Keys here with Tunde Ogunlana. And for our call out this week, Tunde, I know you wanted you had some thoughts on President Donald Trump going to war with Catholicism and the Pope and actually presenting himself as, I guess, the new Jesus or Jesus himself in a picture that he himself circulates online. So, well, what stood out to you in this, man? What's your reaction to seeing all this, man?
In the first term, when this crazy stuff would happen, I'd be more like, oh man, this is nuts, all this. Now it's just, I dare to say it's somewhat amusing, but it's sad. So I don't want to be, because it's obviously serious. And we're talking about our country and the president, but it's so unserious at the same time. I mean, I would say this, James, I don't know what to make of any of it because I see now that, some on the MAGA right are upset at him and some of these, I would say religious, right type of people. But James, I'm looking at the same guy I've been looking at since 2015. I mean, this is the logical conclusion of this type of behavior and this type of mindset. So
that's what stands out.
I don't know what else to say.
What stands out to me about this is that this is no different to me than what's been happening the whole time. And actually, I call BS on all these people, at least on the right. The people that are not Trump people have been pretty consistent. They're not Trump people. But the people that are Trump people, from time to time, he does something. They get all their panties in a bunch and they get all upset. And then, a couple weeks later, remember everybody, the insurrection. Oh my God, we can't do this. And then
what did you say about Rob Reiner when he died?
All these things, they get all upset, supposedly. And then they're right back in line in a couple of weeks. And then, pretty soon they'll probably be putting pictures of Trump as Jesus, up on the internet. So to me, I think he's giving the issue that comes up from time to time is that none of these people who support Trump support him more or less because they think he's a great guy. He attacks people they don't like or that they've been told to not like. And I think what happens in these situations is him doing weird or stupid stuff. Right now, the ratio of him doing stupid stuff to him attacking people that they don't like is shifted too far to him doing stupid stuff. Once he shifts the ratio back to him attacking people they don't like, and the stupid stuff gets a little further in the rear view, like a week or two, then they'll be right back with him because he'll just be being mean to people. That's what they want him for, is to be mean to people. So to me, this was just that same cycle that we go in. We're like, oh my God, I can't believe he did this, and then it's like, all right, but you guys will be right back with him, because as he correctly noted at the very beginning of all this, you guys, these Trump supporters, would support him even if he shot somebody in the middle of the street on TV.
Yeah. No, and James, this is an interesting point you make as you're talking. I'm thinking I know we're kind of half joking here, but this is also a serious conversation because think about it. Within 1 month before the 2024 election, there was a debate where he told the American people that Haitians were eating their cats and dogs in Ohio. He was simulated a blowjob on a microphone at one of his press conferences. He told an audience, I don't care about you, I just want your vote, which I thought as a Freudian slipped, and I believe that, which seems pretty evident now, the way he's handling the country. He talked about Hannibal Lecter multiple times in different press conferences, and he talked about Jack Nicklaus, who was, for younger people, a former Golf Hall of Famer. He talked about the size of his junk, his penis. So I'm thinking about this guy is unqualified to be president because what the hell is he talking about? This is incoherent. So when I see a post like him being Jesus, that's what I'm saying. For me, it's the same guy I've been watching for a decade.
Yeah.
None of this makes sense.
Yeah.
So like you said, I'm not sure what all these right-wing
all
people
he needs to do now is start being mean to some women, or start being mean to some journalists and the media, or something. Just start being be mean to
just remind us that Haitians are eating our cats and dogs.
Oh, there you go. And this political dance, and so I imagine this has something to do with the information ecosystem, not necessarily to say the internet. Not necessarily to put the internet out, but to more so say that looking at what was, when you had broadcast networks and stuff, and you had those gatekeepers that had a tight hand on the narrative of the news, and that's gone now. So the narratives diverge. And so as a result, it is difficult to get a substantial number of people on the same page and to keep them there. And so people can be outraged about something, and then, a week later, 2 weeks later, they 3 or 4 things that they've been told are the most important thing ever in the history of the world, and they've moved on, And so I think that contributes to that. Our society doesn't have the kind of attention span to be like, hey, you did something bad that I don't like in April. So therefore, when it comes time to vote for you months later, I'm not going to vote for you. It's like whatever happens in April doesn't matter. That has no bearing on whatever somebody's going to vote for in November for a lot of people, because so much stuff that's so important, in quotes, has been presented to them since then. So, I definitely want to wrap this up, though. Any last thoughts before we close it up?
Yeah. I just think that this is the logical conclusion of a political ideology that's about owning your opponent. And in this case, I'll say it was the right with the whole owning the libs thing. But I'm not here to beat up the American right.
And your opponent being your countryman, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's and that's why I want to be careful. Yeah. Well, and I mean, look, we have that tradition here because of the Civil War and the Confederacy, and people having different ways they see the history of this country and maybe their ancestry and their role in it, right? And so I do think, but that's why I want to say it more serious, because I feel like a lot of times when we have these conversations, people tend to think we're beating up people on the right or Republicans and all that. But I think, there's no both sides to this kind of stuff right now. There is, the Democrats have their issues, and I'm not a fan of the current Democratic Party. But we do have one party that has just checked out on respecting its opponent, that they have a right to govern and they have a right to win elections sometimes, right? Like, that's my whole point, that post 2020, post the insurrection, this idea that just, anytime another side has a turn at the wheel, that you can't respect them. And I think that if all your focus about is owning your opponent, then eventually the people on your side are going to become, meaning the leadership, you're allowing them in a sense unintentionally to get away with being sloppy. Because this is how we end up with a president like this at this point into a second term, because too many people were, like you were saying, focused on this tribalism and not focused on what he's doing. And now I guess some of those people are waking up and saying, wow, this guy isn't the guy I thought. Maybe you're right, James. Maybe he's not hating enough other people right now, and they're able to see him for what he is. But I feel like this is where we're at. So
yeah. That's it. Well, we appreciate everybody for joining us on this call out. Subscribe to the podcast, rate it, review it, tell us what you think, send it to a friend, and we'll talk soon.